Welcome back to the Wolf AoE 4 in-house tournament. This is the 5th game in the grand finals. Both players having 2 wins and looking to close out the set. Spawning on the right side of the map, we have Fight to the Death as the French, and spawning on the left side of the map, we have Monsieur Gamgee as the English.
Indeed, we're looking at a pretty classic matchup of the French versus English, both teams that can either choose to sit in their base and eco or apply devastating early pressure. Both teams deciding to go 2 scouts, trying to grab as many sheep as possible. Both teams not as reliant on sheep as others, the French a little bit more than the English. We see a lot of woodcutters coming out, probably looking to go for farms there for the English, a bit of a slower start. The French, classic, going up with food, gold, looking for that early age up.
If we look at the scouting pattern right now, we'll see that Monsieur Gamgee has decided on going more of a large circle pattern, Fight to the Death, much more centered in the search for bonus food. Looking at the players' bases right now, Fight to the Death has a gold mine that is not super defensive, but still not forward. The English base, however, is incredibly defensive, seeing as they don't even need the berries. The gold is directly behind the base. It'd be extremely difficult to raid. The deer is a little exposed, but again, it's not like the English are going to have to go out for it. The deer for Fight to the Death, though, it's just in the middle of the map. There's no other way to describe it. It's going to be quite a hard position to hold.
Indeed, especially the way these trees have spawned. The English have really nice choke points that they can just wall off, prevent any French knights that are trying to come in and flank on the sides. They're going to find themselves potentially unable to go in the back line. As we see here, though, that circle pattern for those scouts has started to pay off. Mass amounts of sheep have been gathered by the English. The French, on the other hand, getting measly returns. Not many sheep around that are left. Probably going to have to require an early transition to food. Not much is going to be there. The English, though, not even using all the sheep. Already transitioning into heavy farms. They're not going to make use of it, but they're going to deny the French that ability and require them to either find alternative sources or go up to the farms earlier.
Well, as we've seen throughout this series, Monsieur Gamgee tends to end up getting a lot more sheep than Fight to the Death.
Indeed. Sometimes it has made all the difference.
Especially in Game 1. But for here right now, the English finishing their farm setup and Fight to the Death dropping down the School of Cavalry. No market memes today.
Indeed. 4 villagers pushing that School of Cavalry, trying to get up as quickly as possible, that affecting the economy. The English lagging a little bit behind, of course, but now just going to be waiting on those gold miners. Waiting on a bit of food as they kind of ran behind, but villager production starting up once again. Gold miners. French here looking to either get out an early French knight, a lumber mill coming down, get for that early wood. The scouts continually to go around looking for it. The French player just finally going to scout the English base to see what is happening on that side. Gamgee looking to bring the scout back with its remaining sheep. Neither player super keeping eye on each other and what they're planning on doing after the age up, but for the most part it is slow and steady for both players.
Monsieur Gamgee has not yet actually grabbed Wheelbarrow in this opening build. He does have he could grab it now, or he could grab it after he ages up. That's always a choice with that early English build. We don't have a mill out yet for the French, so obviously we don't have Wheelbarrow, but we will probably see that eco upgrade coming in pretty soon.
Indeed. Though with only 2 gold miners on the English gold mine, it's more likely going for the age up. Not enough gold income to balance both wheelbarrow and that age up there. Be a very delicate balance. And it looking like we will see the council hall coming down, going for that age up. Both players getting their production building going into the next stage. A lot of villagers switching over to wood for the French. And a mining camp going down on the stone. It looks as if double TC is in order. So much so that not even a French knight has come out. Doubling down on those economics.
It's a very big divergence from the normal way that French play, especially on a map such as Dry Arabia. See, probably the decision is based on the fact that this opponent, being the English, raiding the English is never an easy thing. And so double TC dragging the English out of their defensive base into a more open field situation gives you a little bit more of an edge.
No doubt about it. However, this does leave the French a little bit vulnerable. If the English ends up scouting out and seeing this happens, they don't have any troops. English could just as easily move in some of their own longbows and start harassing that food line. But at the current moment, Gamgee has no idea that the transition's even happening. Even though the scouts here are now doing a little bit of a duel, neither side, 2 scouts versus 1. It's not going to look good for this scout as the French scout tries to run away, get the safety of the town center.
Looking back at the English, we actually have a preemptive tower down on the gold mine.
Indeed. No doubt worried about those French knights. A very serious concern for those workers down there, as a French knight would be able to come in there and kill a worker or two. But no French knight is under production. There is no harassment coming Gamgee's way at the current moment, as that tower will just pose for vision right now.
And so really the question is, what does Monsieur Gamgee do here now that he has hit feudal? Because he has the ability to spam archers, and we do see 3 longmen coming out of the council hall.
Indeed. The question is, where will these longbowmen go after they're produced? Right now, not much seeing around. Not much French knights have to deal with. The French themselves still waiting on, just about to hit for that second town center for resources, and afterwards no doubt going to transition into trying to build more workers. The English here, still on 1 town center. Lots of farms though. Good food income, good wood income, very nice balanced economy. It really depends on which way these players like to take. The French now, with their second town center, could easily transition into heavy feudal aggression. If they wish to, the English looking to take a little bit slower route. Not
Scout,
keeping up those
unfortunately, moving straight past these longmen, and taking town center fire, this scout is going to go down. Both of the French scouts are now out of play. Looking at the French base...
Gamgee seeing that French base.
Oh, he does see it, yes.
That town center is constructed, now aware that the French have just gone up with a second town center. It's looking like a situation where the English are now going to be down not only a town center, but against the French cheaper, faster building, not cheaper, faster building workers.
Yeah, this is not the opposite. And speaking of the fact that these villagers cost a lot of food, if we look at the food sources available for the French, this town center does very much cover the gold mine, but it does not really protect the berry bushes to the north, and the berry bushes to the south are also very vulnerable. The English can easily pick off villagers here. French knight coming down the middle of the map.
Looking past, going right past the scout, now engaging the scout in combat. Only 1 French knight currently out on the field. Not going to pose much of a threat, even versus these 5 longbows that will do 3 damage each on their volleys. It will still chip away at a Royal Knight's HP.
And we're about to see that in action.
Or not. It looks as this knight does not have any vision of those longbows that have walked around the long way. Gonna run into a few other longbows here and just gonna start taking arrow fire. Realizing it's not a good spot, will walk away. Another French knight plus chivalry now coming out. Wheelbarrow in for the French, but not in for the English quite yet.
No wheelbarrow for the English yet.
No, so on top of 2 town centers, there is also economic upgrades in the favor. French economy going to start scaling a bit out of control here.
Now the French... Yeah, the French have completed wheelbarrow. No other ecotechs in place yet. We are getting a blacksmith now, which is going to make this... We have blacksmith for both players. So as long as both players get the respective range upgrades for offense and defense, we in better spot. But of course, that blacksmith for the French, very critical for those French knights, because without the blacksmith, they cannot one-shot villagers.
Indeed. We do have that wall coming down, that palisade wall, to protect any flanking coming around, or knights from using that backside as a way to escape. The French knights still, mass of them still starting to build up here. 9 longbows making their way around as Gamgee seeing these berry workers. No doubt going to try to pick up some workers around that side. The French in a bit of a situation. They've got their berry bushes. They have a little bit of sheep left, but they're going to be very quickly out of food and have to transition to somewhere a little bit more vulnerable or put in all the resources. The English, on the other hand, already have their things secure. They're looking in good shape. That blacksmith about to be finished and constructed. The longbow sneaking around the outside, taking the long way, not in vision. These knights moving out along with the workers, realizing that food had to be secure. Gamgee does see this mill going down. These workers passing by. Longman finding the workers, taking a shot, and there goes 1 worker, 2 worker. Scout auto-pathing through the town center. It is not going to make it out of there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Now, we do have another motion here. Monsieur Gamgee knows about this mill in the middle. This mill in the middle is a critical food resource. We'll see if he tries to challenge it. But there are 4 French knights over here. Right now, the French knights, neither side have their armory upgrade in quite yet. Fight to the Death is going to get his in 15 seconds. Monsieur Gamgee is going to get his in 30 seconds. So there'll be a 15-second window where the longman will only be dealing 2 damage.
Indeed, but it looks like the longman will be meeting up with even more longbowmen. Total of 14 longbowmen. That is still 28 damage a shot, even that +2. A outpost coming down, while effective, doesn't completely protect you against longbows, as their range is almost the same as the towers themselves.
And on top of that, this outpost only protects 5 of the 10 people here. That's only 1/3. But Monsieur Gamgee seems to have been changing his economy into a castle age advance. This is a very, very good decision here. Going up to the castle while the opponent is going on double town center, that's going to give him a big advantage because these longmen can get upgrades. They'll be able to get to veteran longbow, giving them bonus HP, giving them 2 bonus damage, and then he can also get the castle age range tech. Those longmen in the castle age will be able to absolutely shred through anything that the French can produce until the French themselves can reach castle.
And with the King's Palace, of course, balancing out that number of town centers, though the villager count now in the favor of Fight to the Death, almost a 12 villager lead at this point. The English player needs to start making moves to start taking advantage of this situation. There is a massive longbows. Gamgee here pushing that advantage now. This massive longbows can instantly hurt any royal knights that try to push in. And indeed, 1 villager, 2 villagers. Villagers themselves, not enough room, they have to run away.
Longman still getting those shots on, still getting the shots, but he's now underneath this town. He's now underneath this tower, not town center, my mistake. We do lose another longman, but the towers now effectively push this longman aggression away from this food source, but the French moving their villagers from that deer, not trying to take it again, going back to the berries in the north, leaving only the 5 people who can be protected near the tower. We have French
indeed, we also have French
in the south.
Indeed, and they're pushing through right now. The villagers, of course, responding to the bell, and walking away. The French knights realizing there was a wall here, and they have to go around the main way. They're going to have to deal with this town center, and they're just going to go right after all these villagers here in the line. That 1 French knight not going to make it out of here by the arrows.
1 English villager has gone down here, but they are now in the middle of the machine gun nest. They're going to have to get out of this position.
Been pretty bad.
But they're running straight into these longbow, which are easily going to be able to take out at least 1 of these knights. But the second one is definitely going to get away. And now they're into that forest, out of sight.
But not without a few scratches. Chivalry will kick in, but it's going to take a little bit for those French knights to get anywhere into combat efficiency. The English looking at potential veterancy. The French in a bit of a situation as they're going to need to transition here into farms as all their food sources are running a bit dry or have to go into even more vulnerable locations.
So Monsieur Gamgee has chosen, instead of grabbing veteran longbows, to start with balanced projectiles.
In a way, it is a cheaper option than the veterancy upgrade, and providing, well, actually, it's the difference between food and wood there.
No, it's a very equal option. It's an interesting choice to choose balanced projectiles over the veteran longman. Veteran longman is a better upgrade for the longbows in their combat efficiency, but it doesn't affect town centers. That second arrow upgrade makes those machine gun town centers shred even faster. So if you're worried about any aggression on your base, that's the upgrade to get. But these longmen are now facing a mass of 7 French knights, which are going to chase them down. They could potentially deal with these French knights if they were to turn and start kiting, but it looks like Monsieur Gamgee has decided that he doesn't want to try to take that chance, and he's going to try to get all the way back to the base, which is now armed with very powerful town centers.
The French knights opting to try to get this around instead of their charge, but these longmen will deal 4 damage a shot, and there it is, 1 volley, dealing quite a bit of damage, almost 50 damage in a volley. These French knights are in a bad position, and there we go. Each volley almost 3-shotting a French knight, and there goes 1 more French knight. Not going to make it out of there.
We did lose 1 English villager under that tower, unfortunately.
Indeed, but these longmen are actually quite dangerous at this current moment. Without that extra range defense, they're now taking exponentially more damage as it comes in. We do have the guild hall coming in for the French, moving up into the castle. Very nice economic building. Not looking to still try to out-eco the English here.
And as we can see, Fight to the Death has moved to gathering the boar in the north and the deer in the south. This is exactly the same as the maneuver he pulled in the last match as the Roo, securing the food on the outside of the map while he is doing a farm transition back at the base.
Indeed, it looks like we now have crossbow production along with veterancy upgrade coming in. These longbows right now are extremely dangerous. They get 2 more damage from this. They now deal 6 damage per volley to the Royal Knights, which is very, very devastating if they get those volleys off.
Exactly. This is where the veterancy of the Longman comes in, giving him that massive advantage. It is difficult, though, to use palings in these situations, especially with all this forest, but you could always use those to try to buy you a little bit more time, especially once you have crossbows.
Fight to the Death moving up with the gold mine, trying to secure that big deposit of gold here in the center, though it is quite vulnerable to deal with. The French Knights trying to take a little bit more forward position as we have more armor upgrades. The second range upgrade coming in for the French to try to deny that massive amount of longbows that are on the field. All of these sheep sitting in the English base, as they're unnecessary, as the farms are way better and should be the priority of the English, are an example of the sheep denied this game.
Well, now that we have an outpost up, we might see some aggression from Monsieur Gamgee here. He's slowly trying to crawl across the map, building more and more outposts.
This outpost, though, does not spot the gold mine or the workers, but those French Knights will attempt to go after that worker, and now they're going to take the threat. They do not have their second range upgrade. They did get their upgrade to give them +1 armor from just becoming veterans.
Look at that. Just absolutely shredded by the crossmen and the longmen. Monsieur Gamgee deciding not to push that engagement and instead wait and try to establish this tower once again.
Better go in for a bit more vision, worried about what could be on the other side of this area. But that...
And he should be worried because there is a castle slightly out of sight there.
French Knights going around the side, finding themselves in a bad spot again, as each now 1 volley is enough to take down a full knight. These knights are not doing well.
But they are distracting the army from getting to this castle. And because of that maneuver, they are in fact going to go up. A very sacrificial move, but one that gains a lot of map dominance.
Indeed, but I don't know. That castle might not cover those villagers fully. Longbows do have a little bit of a range.
That is true. But it does completely stop this choke point. And we see now with the first keep on the field that the stables will be built around it for that cheap knight production.
You see, in terms of castle, Berkshire Palace coming down, a challenge to the keep on the other side. What a dangerous defensive wonder going down right here in the center.
The Berkshire Palace is very difficult to siege down without traps. It's almost impossible. It's just like the HRV stuff. But let's see the longmen moving towards that gold mine, and they are able to snipe those workers without the keep being able to assist.
Indeed, that puts quite a bit of a problem. That gold mine no longer safe, as there is not a tower that can really defend against it. It's going to make that gold mine not particularly probable, but the French have gold mines in the back that they can just decide to go for if it's too problematic. A Mangonel coming in, no doubt seeing this massive archers and realizing it can easily be taken out and countered if there's no counter siege available. French Knights have made it into the English farms here just to wreak a bit of havoc.
Villages are called back towards the town center, but these French Knights are about to get absolutely cut down by this town center in the tower fire.
Yeah, it looks like they'll get one more worker before they go down. Berkshire Palace is up, and it has line of fire against this outpost.
Look at the range of that defensive landmark. The only problem right now, not enough gold to buy the... Oh, wait, my mistake. Definitely enough gold to buy the cannon emplacement and spring emplacement, but not enough stone.
Speaking of upgrades, I don't even think it needs an upgrade versus this outpost. Look how much damage it's doing, but just by the number of arrows it's shooting at it.
Absolutely, but you do need that cannon and placement in the Berkshire Palace to deal with siege when it comes in. We do have enclosures coming in for the English and Imperial, who still actually do not have wheelbarrow 20 minutes into this game.
That is no doubt a massive economic difference between here and the French. The villager count, though, didn't completely go crazy after the points. After that second town center comes in, only 17 villager difference. It could be a lot worse for the English player, but they're in a good spot. They do have a food advantage as their farms are now providing as maximum food as they can. They're working as fast as they can on that. The Berkshire Palace will slowly go through this outpost, and it looks like we have enclosures coming in, veterancy up, elite upgrade coming in for those longbows, mining upgrades coming in. All the upgrades coming in.
Well, that's going to be really necessary here because the English do not have the first level of woodcutting. They do not have wheelbarrow or horticulture, but the French, really utilizing those cheap techs, have the first level of lumber. They've got the first level of food, and they have the first level of the mining tech with wheelbarrow. So, villagers picked off who were trying to repair that outpost. The Berkshire Palace just quickly changed targets, killed them, and goes back to dealing 1 damage per arrow. Almost 1,000 arrows have gone into this outpost.
It is very impressive how much arrows this thing fires. Even if you had arrow resistance, this thing does over 1,000 damage in a couple minutes.
We have a trebuchet, the first of the English trebuchets, coming out onto the field.
Indeed, these are the way that the English are going to push up. It looks like to be a slow crawl, and in the range of the Berkshire Palace, it will give quite a bit of a defense situation. But that is quite a mass of French knights and mangonels. That can pose a problem if they try to push onto those trebuchets.
We have Greased Axle coming in for the English, opting for more movement speed over more damage from shattering projectiles.
And more importantly, though, we see a French castle coming down in the south at the sacred site.
At the same time, we have the Red Palace being put slightly to the north near this other sacred site, with the sacred site in the north behind enemy lines and the sacred site in the south about to be walled off with the keep. In the last game, Fight to the Death used the same tactic, secured the sacred sites, and achieved a sacred site victory. It appears we might be in the exact same situation.
Indeed, once those castles go up, it's going to be a bit hard to siege, but the English will have those lots of trebuchets, more trebuchets even coming in right now. Enough trebuchets, and the castles will forcing the French to move in to fight those trebuchets, as currently there's nothing on the field to fight them, and counter trebuchets aren't really the answers. The English trebuchets with shadow projectiles is quite a menace to deal with.
Unfortunately, we do not have shadow projectiles yet. We're getting geometry to increase their damage, but no ability to counter snipe.
Indeed. With that tower going down, the French now lose vision of what is happening on the other side here. They can only see the firing of the trebuchets, but the army itself has disappeared. The French knights moving in, seeing if they can cause any damage on those trebuchets, and they are taking quite a beating though, as they do not have all their upgrades in.
Yeah, they are, and they're trying to get away. But the mangonels coming on this right side, shooting at the longbows.
Shooting at the spearmen.
They did target the spearmen.
The massive archers doing fine. The Berkshire Palace shooting at the mangonel, taking down the first one. The French knights moving in to try to hold down the archers. They are taking a beating real fast, and they have to get out, as not many of them make it out of there.
This is a devastating engagement for Fight to the Death.
Indeed. The heavy losses and the force that you want to destroy, which is all of those archers, has made it away almost completely unscathed, including the trebuchets.
Right now, the French army stands at only about 8 French knights, 3 archers, 2 mangonels, and one counterweight treb. On the other side, we have 31 longmen, 11 crossmen, 2 spears, and I believe 4 trebuchets. There's not much standing between the English and the French base.
And with this keep will be going down. It is hard to challenge it at this point. It's just going to have to be conceded at this point. But there is the Red Palace on the left side here, providing the radius the French need to get their cheaper units. The French here also building a second keep in the south while this is happening.
Oh no, the English villagers have just gone to go get wood on that wood line as this keep comes up.
That is not going to work out well for these villagers, as they're now going to be slowly picked off. And with the Berkshire Palace taking hits from the trebuchet. The English might not see those warnings that are coming up, telling about these villagers in danger.
The biggest issue here right now is the gold income for Fight to the Death is extremely low. He is barely able to produce any more of these French knights. The English are pushing in on this last bit of the French army. If they clear this out, they have a clear path straight into the French base, and that could end the game right here.
Mangonel shots coming in, shooting a great dodge by the English player here, trying to avoid it. First Mangonel almost goes down in one hit, dodging second shots, going back in, realizing they just need one more volley to kill that Mangonel. It's going to get off another volley here, but it's only going to be the front. French knights coming in, even with that upgrade, they take quite a beating because of the crossbows that are mixed into that army. One more Mangonel in there. This is not looking good for the French player, as their base is open. The French knights are on the side. There isn't much of an army here. There's stone being collected. We could see a castle drop to try to defend the base. It was the worry here, but we have sacred sites being captured at the same time. The French player looking to get more gold here with a mine in the south as the English push up, and
the English decide not to go to the right towards the French base, but instead they seem to be pushing towards the Red Palace, trying to shoot at those villagers, but without shouting projectiles. The trebuchets literally do no damage.
Indeed, we do now have also wheelbarrow coming in for the English at the same time. So we have the economics catching up, melee defense coming in, the Red Palace being spotted as it now begins firing at these archers, dealing tremendous damage. The trebuchets
it's already taken out 4, 5, 6, 7 units. They're just getting shredded to pieces by the Red Palace, and the French knights are coming in to pin this army in position.
Indeed, these trebuchets a little bit too close, getting picked off by the Red Palace in a couple volleys. The French knights themselves, while powerful, are still taking in lots of damage from all the crossbows here. These two trebuchets in the back still fine, unable to be completely reached by these French knights themselves. But they're going to still hold off. They're still pulling through, still pushing through all these units. More units in the back. Another trebuchet coming to the front. Red Palace seeming to be the focus of the English here, wanting that Red Palace gone.
Now, at this moment, let's take a quick look at the upgrades. We do not have military academies or any range defense upgrades for Monsieur Gamgee, but we do have everything but the last Master Smiths. The question is, does either player have a university?
Does not appear so. At the same time,
not at this moment.
We do have the guild hall generating gold to get there, and we have all the sacred sites now captured.
These siege workshops causing all the trouble are in range of these trebs.
It does appear so. These archers getting a little too close to the Red Palace. Red Palace almost dead, but the trebuchets firing on the enemy siege over here. Mangonel's taking priority as the number of archers that this army composition is made out of. Make the priority. The French knights trying to push by, but there's crossmen in the back here.
Too many of these archers have been taken out by the Red Palace. There's almost no defenders left to protect these trebuchets.
Now they're trying to be pulled back, but they're definitely going to get one of them. The question is, will they be able to get a second one? Volley is coming in. Not much damage. Couple more throws. 2 more throws.
The knights just stopped. They just gave up.
They did not want to throw the last torch onto that trebuchet.
They just decided it was too much work. They just did. They just gave up on it.
Indeed, we have an English castle. The challenge on the French castles on the south side caused that flank to be a little bit more secure too. More French knights coming in. Red Palace has almost been repaired, and it seems these trebuchets once again moving over, trying to siege the Red Palace here. Get that thing destroy all these production buildings, cause the French to be in a bit of more of a pickle. We have stables coming in additionally. Most likely horsemen, perhaps knights. I guess we'll see.
Right here, the Red Palace is being rapidly repaired by the workers. This might not be enough trebuchets. That first trebuchet in that line is very vulnerable, and we have French knights coming from both sides here, trying to get to the trebuchets.
That trebuchet that made it out last time will not be so lucky this time. Enough French knights are here, and enough crossbowmen. A second trebuchet will be going down. And the third one most likely will make it out.
Oh, nope. Monsieur Gamgee pulls the villagers, repairs it, keeps it alive. One unfortunate thing right here is that the elite longmen have not been able to use their arrow volley ability, and they do not have fire arrows, so they're really struggling to get through these fully upgraded French knights at this point.
appears so the Mangonel getting some quick repairs by the workers here, and more French Knights coming in to try to counteract.
Fast repairs.
Get enough workers, and it's instant. Not as crazy as Chinese bombards, though.
Well, good thing there's no China in this game.
We have the enclosure gold coming in. Resources pretty much unlimited for both players here. Only wood being a constant problem for the English as they spend most of their wood on endless streams of trebuchets coming in, destroying any building they come across. A Mangonel not making it out of there from the crossbow fire as more siege are trying to be produced to try to counteract the amount of archers that are coming here. The gold mine in the front being grabbed, and another mass of 16 French Knights have been constructed.
Unfortunately, it looks like the window for the English to actually go for the base on the right side might be closing. Those siege workshops still alive on the right side, building a massive amount of mangonels. And these French Knights are starting to get into a critical mass to the point where maneuvering to the right side might become detrimental.
It could be very problematic. Without a wall here, the French Knights do have free reign, so without pushing constantly on this red palette here to force the French to take it seriously, it seems to be a main way to keep the French distracted on the front. We do have a bit of siege trebuchets trying to snipe out these workers, counter-sniping English trebs with French trebs. The Knights, once again, moving in, using the Mangonel to try to get some fire, try to force these archers into an engagement where the Mangonel can get a very clean shot, getting a really good hit on the front of those archers. South here, we have not much action happening, just more resource collection. Relics still left on the map for both players as another trebuchet moves into the front here. A castle going down as there is now 5 mangonels on the field. French Knights now moving in. The castle constructed just in time.
French Knights keep getting picked off by these ranged of arrows. We have Royal Bloodlines with that HP coming in 30 seconds.
That will make a huge difference as that university will make or break a lot of
these longmen
fire.
getting dragged on their right side. They just got 2 massive hits on their numbers, cutting them down by about 5 to 6. The French Knights keep doing cycle charging, trying to pick off these crossbowmen.
Indeed, but without any cannon fire or mass amounts of trebuchets, that English castle will probably stay there for a while.
Another problem we have is at this point we're starting to run into Sacred Site Victory's timer, and the English are now forced that they're going to have to take out one of these sacred sites.
Indeed, and it looks to be continually trying to push on that red palace. As we see another mass, 4 trebuchets once again appearing, an endless stream of crossbows and longbows pushing into the front here. Shadow projectiles have made its way into the production. And we see now siege works coming in to help defend the French siege from all the archer fire that they're going to get.
That is a very good choice here. We do not have network of castles quite yet for the English, which is hurting them a little bit defensively. But as we have seen most of the damage, they've been able to fight off most of these attacks without that extra 25% attack speed. And we have the 3rd siege, I believe, of the Red Keep beginning.
The first volley of trebuchets firing now at it. This is a mass of almost 50 French Knights. That is a lot. And they're just going to run right for those trebuchets. They are scared off a little bit, wanting the mangonels to be in position before pushing in here.
Those French Knights are now fully upgraded. English still are also almost fully upgraded, but they do not have the university, so it's a university tech versus full blacksmith techs.
In the south, we have a trebuchet and a bunch of French workers coming in to burn down this trebuchet. They will take it with their lives.
A bunch of French Knights were just cut down by all of the arrows, but we have a division of them that was pulled away, maneuvering to the south side of the map.
You potentially could see a very massive raid coming in. French Knights charging once again, pulling back right afterwards, try to get the mangonels in front. Ooh! Devastating blow here as the front line of all the archers goes down. 3 minutes until Sacred
Site Victory.
Trebuchets continuing to fire to try to hit those mangonels in the back. These crossbowmen taking devastating mangonel fire, as now there is not much protecting these trebuchets versus all of these French Knights.
First trebuchet goes down. It looks like we're going to lose all 3 trebuchets. Monster Gamgee pulling the archers away from the trebs, leaving them to their fate.
Indeed, we do have 2 more trebuchets in the back to try to replace those have lost. There is such a mass of mangonels that any archer groups that stand still will just disappear.
In the south, we still have that army of French knights maneuvering back and forth. Not going in for a raid, but just appears to be protecting the sacred site in the south in case we have a maneuver from the English to change their target. With less than 2 minutes to go to sacred site victory, the English are going to get about 1 more push. After that's the next army that's assembled, they're not going to have enough time, so they only have 1 more chance to take this game back.
It does look like their decision is to try to push the south as the trebuchets slowly make their way down there. Those French knights, no doubt, coming in handy to counteract this push here. They're about to get in range. Quite a devastating range they will have, of course, as that 16 range now allows them to shoot so very far away. The archers also repositioning to the south.
And we have some English knights trying to neutralize the sacred site, but unfortunately, there are no range defense upgrades that have been researched for the English during this entire game, so these knights are being torn to pieces by the keep, and we have French knights coming in, the one station on the southern side of the map, to try to stop this siege of the sacred site. Sacred site is almost captured. We have 1 division of the English moving straight towards the sacred site. They were in the middle of the French cavalry. The French cavalry has chosen, instead of blocking the sacred site, to go straight for the trebs. There's a moment here where they can absolutely take it, but the spearmen aren't on the sacred site. They're going for the castle. They're finally maneuvered back onto the sacred site, but they keep getting dragged off of it. Only one of them barely standing on the sacred site. We are losing precious seconds here, but they still might be a chance. The rest of the English army coming from the north. The French cavalry have almost completely finished off the trebs, but we have an entire reinforcement division of the French cavalry coming in. Those spearmen who unfortunately kept getting taken off the sacred site, it might not be enough time. Those French knights trying to deal with the other units, they get pulled off and they are about to get the sacred site. It's not enough. The English are not going to be able to clear this sacred site.
Now looking really bad for the English without those trebs, without those forces. They're in a bit of a bad situation to push on any of these sacred sites anymore. 1 minute to go, and the north brings a surrender as the mangonels push on the English.
And that is it. Fight to the Death takes the tournament 3-2. What a set to end these games.